Go ahead and call this meeting to order. Brenda, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Seth,
Here.
Councilor Myrtle Bankley. Here. Councilor Eugene Kyler.
Here.
Councilor Brenda Lowe. Here. Councilor Floyd Philpott.
Here.
And Councilor Steve Brewer.
Here.
All present, Mayor. You have a full- full
Thank you very
night.
much. If you would, mute your telephones or turn them off, please.
Here comes another car coming
Yeah. This is a special call meeting to further discuss road work within town limits of county line. At the last council meeting, we discussed one of the possibilities of doing some work on Dean's Ferry. We also talked about our resources that we have available to do this work with, which is severely limiting our capabilities. But there were several questions that came up in discussing just the Dean's Ferry Road option A that we wanted to ask the commissioner to come in and field some more questions about it. One of the first questions was on there was a attachment A, which is just a patching the road and doing a tar gravel cover, which is the least of the two estimates for Dean's Ferry. And some concerns were voiced that a single coat would not last very long, a single coating. And we wanted to ask about a two-coat process or two-layer process for that, and what the additional expense might be for that. You know, I know that you can't answer that immediately, but I wanted to entertain that idea with you on the differences between the two processes.
All right, on the single coat that I gave you a quote on, what was that? What was for is just after you did the pothole work, then we would come in and spray it with tar and put a single coat of gravel on it, which would be a seal coat. And I feel like that would be adequate to save your road for, a number of years, probably 7, 8, 10 years. With one coat, we would not plow it up. Now, if you wanted to do 2 coats with that price would just pretty much double, which I think you'd have an excellent road at that time. The other quote that I gave you for the $33,000, that was to plow it up and then put 2 coats on it. That'd be to reclaim the road and then put 2 coats on it, which you'd have a little bit smoother road and a little bit better road if you did that, other than just putting 2 coats on it, or 1 coat on it.
The 33,000, you say you put 2 coats on it?
Well, actually, the 33,000 was plowed.
That's plowed up and let it set, and then we'll come in and put 2 coats on it.
Okay. Now I'm gonna have to, ask Cecil, the differences between the 2 coats and 1 coat. You had concerns about that. And can you expound?
I will. Commissioner, I'd like to address a little bit of the application process to begin with. Are you using a chip spreader or are you using spreader gate trucks in your application process?
At this time, we would be using spreader gate trucks,
Okay, and are these single axle or double axle trucks?
single axle.
Okay. In your application process, and I see you noted CRS2
Yes, sir.
at the cost of $3 a gallon.
Yes, sir.
How do you arrive at that cost per gallon?
That is put out on bid, and that's our bid cost.
Bid cost to you or from you to all municipalities?
No, to us. This is at my cost.
And whom are you purchasing this liquid from? And have you considered purchasing from the state bid list that's considerably cheaper?
We put this out, me stop right here and ask our chairperson. Is that put out on the state bid list?
Commissioner, we have been soliciting our own bids on that, and, you know, we recently awarded those. I'm trying to think who gets Argonne, I
Argonne,
believe,
right.
is got that bid.
That's
And
correct.
I didn't bring a list, but, we award that based on the low bid that we got. You're saying the state bid is
Considerably lower
less
than that.
I-
For the Blount County region.
Okay, I'm not aware of that, but that's,
And
Good to know.
Argonne as well as Vulcan both bid for that region as well. So,
Is
bid
that,
T-118, if you wanna look that up on state.
okay,
site.
on the state contract,
Yes.
T-118.
Yeah,
Do you know what that price is, sir?
not right off the top of my
Okay, but
head,
it is less than our bid price?
quite a bit
Okay.
less than the $3.
Okay, well, we need to just check that out.
yeah,
Okay.
we appreciate that. We will check it.
The other side of the question is, looking at, you made the statement that cost would double if you put two coat. Let me preface some of my statements by telling you a little bit of history, okay?
Okay,
I'm retired superintendent of the Jefferson County Highway Department.
Yes,
I was
sir.
responsible for 2,200 miles of roads and bridges within Jefferson County. I know a little bit about the process. That don't mean I'm an expert. That means I know a little bit about it. But in the application process, in using the spreader gates versus a chip spreader, you have a little bit more waste material in that application.
I agree with that.
And so I know that the county may or may not have access to a chip spreader, do you?
Not at this time, we do not.
The county don't own one?
No, sir.
Okay. And
No.
they don't lease those or anything?
We had an individual that we could lease from this past year, but he's no longer available. And we are in the process of trying to find somebody that will lease us one, but we have not found one at this time.
Okay.
May I say a word about that?
Certainly.
We actually put that in our annual bids last month, and we did not get a bidder on that. So as
That's
what
true.
Commissioner's saying is true in that we have had contracts in the past for the chip spreader, and because it does a good job and it uses less gravel and all, but we did not get a bidder on that, so we're kinda in limbo on that right now.
So not having a contract in place to rent a chip spreader or lease a chip spreader, has the county considered options of contracting or subcontracting that portion of the work?
Go ahead.
Well, we have done that. We've done some contracting work predominantly with a company called Watts Paving out of the Gadsden area.
Mhm.
And I think that's the only company we have worked with, is
Mhm.
Watts, and, on that. And, that has included, you know, the use of their chip spreader and labor and so forth.
Right. That's the entire bid process for,
Yes, sir.
for the entire process?
Right.
Trucking and all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The other question that I had for you, Commissioner, was related to the cost of the second layer. You indicated it would more or less double. I don't understand that to be reality in my experience.
Well, you're probably correct on that. I did not run the numbers on running a second coat. It will take a little less on tar and a little less on gravel when you put the second coat. But to give you for budget numbers, that's the reason I said it the way I did. But you are correct, it will cost a little less on the second coat.
Traditionally, what I found in my previous work experience, that second coat would be about 40% of your cost in relation to the total bid, because you've absorbed your prep work and labor work in that first, you know, you've got that broken out
Right.
in your bid, so you don't have the labor cost associated with that at all in prep work and cleanup and the sweepers and that kind of thing.
That is true.
So I think a good, you know, ballpark to begin talking about would be a 40% increase in what your current bid is.
You might be right on that. I hadn't run the numbers on that exactly, but I do know it's not as much as the, you know, the initial bid for the initial first coat.
You bid strictly on a length times width process?
Yes, sir.
And do you do that, you break that into square yards after that to get an application rate as specified by the Alabama Universal Municipal
Yeah.
Codes?
I have not, no, sir.
Okay. You familiar with the Uniform Traffic Control Manual that the state of Alabama puts
No,
out?
sir, I'm not.
Okay.
But our engineering department may be, and I might could talk with him, but as far as this bid myself, I did not use that, no, sir.
Do you happen to have American Asphalt manual?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. I'm gonna have
As
to
far
get-
as myself, I do not, but
I'm
now
gonna have
I'm
to
sure our
get one
county
because it'll
engineer
help me.
does. Now, these numbers came from myself, not the engineer's department.
I understand.
And I want to make sure that, Commissioner, we're not trying to blindside you here.
That's fine.
But, you know, I'm relying on somebody that has the experience with road work that I do not have.
Yes.
And I want to rely on the experts.
I
or at
understand.
least
Don't-
those
don't blame
with the
you there.
knowledge. So, I think it'd be
Breaking
great.
this down, your current bid was at more or less $1.51 per square yard, which is pretty high in looking at market values across the board in bids from private contractors.
Mhm.
But, you know, I don't feel that a single layer will last any time, and, you know, I do have some experience and knowledge in the area, okay? I would recommend, and as I did recommend to the town council, that it be a two-layer process, that being a 6 and a 78. And I would never entertain a two-layer process on new paving that's gonna sustain life, especially in rural Blount County where we have everything from log trucks to coal trucks. You know.
Right.
I would recommend a three-layer for new paving, a 5, 6, and a 78.
Okay. Any other questions for the Commissioner?
No. I've sat here and I've learned a lot listening to him ask questions, because he asked questions about something I never heard about. And I had no idea that there was this many questions about paving was involved in it. But I appreciate you. And I think we need to make him the chairman of the
Time out, brother. A politician, I'm not, okay? I'm sorry.
I understand, and I don't
We don't
ask you
want
to be, I just ask you to help us look after these things here.
Well, I'm a lifelong resident of this town and have no intentions of going anywhere until the good Lord takes me home.
All right, then we're looking for you.
You made a comment there being political. This is not really political. This is just, you know,
This is
it's
business.
just work. It's
Right.
Yeah,
business.
I understand.
And I appreciate your comments. My feelings are not offended either way.
And this is not, I know that you know this, but for everybody's sake, this is not an attack. This is an opportunity for us to sit down and have an
Right.
intelligent
I
discussion
understand.
and learn from each other. You know, I obviously don't know your resources. I know that they're limited,
Mm-hmm.
as with everybody's, and I know that your funding is limited.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that those things can be looked at and adjusted as need be where the needs are the heaviest.
Correct.
So, you know, that's something that I would like to have some dialogue about someday.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask the commissioner, as they roll this tar and gravel, do y'all have y'all roll on vibrator or y'all just straight roll it?
After we get the earth compacted, the
Yeah.
base compacted, we just roll it.
Okay.
Are you aware of the ambient air temperature requirements for putting CRS down?
We try to make sure we got a good temperature. We don't do it in cold weather.
The definition of cold weather?
Well, I'd say 50 degrees or above would be.
You're
what
right
we
on
try to
target.
do.
Application temperature 110 to 160 degrees for CRS2. What size distributor does the county have?
The truck that we use to spread it, I cannot answer that. It's a standard truck. It's a good truck, but I cannot, for the capacity of it, I cannot tell.
Single axle or dual axle on the distributor?
Single axle.
1,500 gallon.
Yeah, that sounds right, yeah.
I also wrote specs for equipment.
He's a big asset to you.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Good
But
resource.
we need to let the commissioner know we not here to fry him, like Cecil said, because the last government body we had to him fried the other commissioner pretty much. And cooked him and roasted him. We're not here to do him that way.
No.
We here to, like Cecil said, to see if we can work this out to get something done. And we want to say we appreciate our public judge coming in too.
Absolutely. We appreciate both Commissioner and the probate judge coming to our little town and hearing our, you know, our problems. So, if you would, a justice estimate on for a two-coat process on the Dean's Ferry. Would like to take a look at that. Obviously, we're not going to make any hard decisions tonight, but we're certainly gathering more information.
On the same thing. Can I say something?
Yeah.
Have you gone down Cobrazil Road?
Yes, right before I came here.
Okay. Can you imagine the school bus going down that road and meeting somebody head on?
They can't do it.
No, they can't. And there's nowhere to go for that school bus.
I agree with you.
And,
The mail lady.
well, the mail lady, I mean, I've kind of, she gonna have to take care of herself.
We got kids we have to worry
The school
about.
bus is just a big thing to me. I know Dean's Ferry, I drive it every day, and, it's something else. But Cobrazil is, and you guys own a part of Cobrazil, the
That's
county
true.
does.
Mhm.
Right there, I think where Freda is, where it needs a pipe in the road.
Mhm. I agree with you.
And that would help, and, you know, widen it a little bit, but I mean, if somebody, familiar with that school bus run at 6:30, and they run at about 30, and some people do run 30 miles an hour on that road, I mean, that's hard to believe. And they make that school bus head on, we're gonna have some bad, sad songs and slow music.
I do not
But
disagree
it's,
with you
but
at all.
I'm just asking if any way that you could bump that to the top of your mini list, that we, you know, there's 80 souls between Dean's Ferry and Cobrazil right there, not including that bus and the through traffic, but there's 80 souls there, that's a lot of people. And that road, that's very dangerous there, there's nowhere to
I
go
agree with
but a
you.
truck.
So that,
And
And
it's
what
a
I have
mile
tried-
long.
What I've tried to work out is with the town, when we do that, do their part and our part at the same time, if we could. That's the reason I haven't done anything. You know, I've only been in term, 1 year, and this was a top priority of mine, and we've been discussing it for about a year now. And, we're trying to work something out, and as soon as we come to an agreement, we'll do something. I've got it in my budget to do something this next year, if we can come to an agreement.
Well, Commissioner Strickland, we don't have a budget. We have, we're just scraping by, barely scraping, that's what everybody's doing. But this is circumventing something bad happening. And when you're talking about kids on school bus, that's very serious. But I'd just like for you to consider that,
I
please.
appreciate that.
that's one reason, just, go ahead, Joe, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna ask a question that maybe you and Commissioner Mike could answer on that Cobrazil. We did just drive in and out. We drove all the way to the end and back out.
Yeah, I followed you.
And it's indeed a one-lane road for the most part in there. Do we know where we stand on right-of-way there? Is it completely prescriptive, or could
Well, we
we?
got a 40-foot right of way.
Okay.
And we found the document, I was given a copy of the document that's filed at the courthouse back in '86.
It's in the engineering department. It's
Okay.
20 foot from the middle. And
Okay.
everybody signed it back in 1986.
Okay.
The original's at the engineering department.
That's,
And we
That's
have
a
copies
question.
of it.
that's a question that I have received a couple of phone calls. If that deed was signed in '86 or '87, why hadn't somebody in the county engineer department looked at it, considered it? And I know there's a great lot of expense there for the county, cause you got fences to move, trees to move, but, Chris, he worked, the judge, I should say, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Judge.
No, it's not.
Been knowing you all my life.
That's for Chris, it's fine.
But, it puts the buck on him and Commissioner Strickland now, since they found the deed, and, it's all been signed by everybody. Why can't, I know you said you had it in your budget, and we appreciate that, okay? But, should something been done years ago about it, not waiting this long, but ain't nothing y'all can do about it, I can do about it. But if it's in the engineering department, the engineers need to get off his come along and do something about it.
Mayor, I raised a question about that, just where we would know, and that's good, that we know that there's a deed. We do get in some issues where work needs to be done and the landowners just simply will not in any way cooperate with its own right of way. So we typically try to go for a little more right of way now than we used to properly maintain the ditch and the back slope and so forth. But that gives us a good heads up on where we are. So that's the reason I asked that.
Like I said, I think it was 40 feet, wasn't it?
It's 20 feet from the center, so it's 40 foot, be
No.
20 foot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I live down Coppersville Road, and I've lived down there a long time, and.
30 years, because you're 31.
We discussed all this at our last meeting, and if we do, Deans Ferry Road, there's absolutely nothing left for Coppersville. And we don't know when we're going to get any more money to be able to fix that road. If we don't do something now, in the next year, that road's not gonna be passable anymore. I mean, it's just not, because most of the pavement is gone. It's gonna rain and get muddy, you know, people are gonna be stuck. We lived down that road when it was a dirt road.
Was in better
And
shape.
we know what it's gonna be. And, you know, it's a one-way road. We have no other way of getting in and out. And, you know, I don't know about policies and all this. I just know that I've lived here all my life, and something needs to be done. And I want Deans Ferry fixed too, because I know there's a lot of people that travel that road. But Cobb Brazil, you know, there's like 14 or 15 families that live down there also. And
I was the first one moved down there
yes, you were.
in 1970.
And we really, really need something done.
And I think county line's only responsible for what, 3/10 of a mile, just over 3/10 of a
Yeah,
mile?
something like that.
And the rest is Blunt County, and
The
it's
first
a
part-
mile.
Yeah.
The road's a mile long.
On Deans Ferry
Is it?
or Cobb
Cobb
Brazil?
Brazil.
Yes.
Cobb Brazil, yeah.
The first part belongs to, I think, county line. There's a middle section in there that belongs to the county, and then the end of it belongs to county line.
yeah, I think if the estimate was,
17,000.
But Blunt County's
half a
always
mile.
worked the road.
Estimate Deans Ferry.
Well, now, we can work our
It's
part
like 3
now.
miles, yeah.
Mike,
3/10 of a mile, a little over.
A little over 3,
Yes.
3.3.
I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question to the people that live down Coppersville Road. If it went back to just a gravel road for right now, would that be better than what it is now?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Can we get a estimate written up for just going in there and doing the necessary work to get Coppersville Road fixed where it's gravelable and not as dangerous as it is now?
Sure.
Just with gravel.
Just gravel.
Just gravel. Because
In other words,
You told us to begin with that you would have to do that anyway, put gravel on it and let it settle before you could go any further with it anyway, right?
I'd take a reclaimer and, you know, tear it up and take a motor grader and smooth it out, put gravel where it was needed. And, yeah, I'd be glad to give you a price on that.
All right.
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Last year, they came through in the summertime and cut with the mow trim up high.
Mhm.
Both Deans Ferry and Cobbersville Road. Worked it all the way down, the whole road. They didn't leave county lines apart. They did it all.
They did it all.
Okay, this year, the tractor with the mow trim sat right down at the end for 2-3 months. And nobody did anything.
Mhm.
Our citizens on our roads are cleaning back the bushes on the road so that we can see to get by. And if somebody's gonna get hurt, and it is a liability, just like Sue said, it's a liability for Blount County.
You drove down that road a while ago,
Yes, sir.
and I'm telling you that when it rains, I drive my little pickup truck sitting right out there down that road, and limbs hit the top of my truck, going down the center part of the road. That's not okay. Simply not okay.
Now, this is on Deans
Oh,
Ferry?
no, Cobb
Cobb
Brazil.
Brazil.
Cobb Brazil.
And I mean, our people are out trimming the limbs. That, Cecil went out, and Malcolm, and your son-in-law, I don't know his name,
I've
they
been
went
out
out
there.
and trimmed limbs. I've not seen you, Curtis,
Yes.
I've not seen you, but
I
I mean, I'm
believe
just
you.
saying, I believe you too. But I mean, you know, you've got your citizens out there working hard, trying to do it aside from what they've already gotta do. And I mean, you gotta be able to, especially as bad as it is, you've got to be able to see. So why did the tractor sit down there for 2 or 3
Well-
months and nobody did anything? But last year, in the summertime, they mowed the whole thing. I
Right.
remember it just like it was yesterday.
Last
Because
year-
we appreciate, Alan came down with his dually and he said, thank
Last-
goodness they mowed it back.
Last year, there was a dead tree fell across the road.
Cowboy.
Mr.
I got
Pitts
blocked
came
where I
in.
couldn't get home. I had to walk through that tree and go home and get my chainsaw and come back up and cut the tree where we could get that. I was eat up with poison ivy for 2 months because of that one tree and trying to move it out of the way so we could get through. And that tree still piled up on the side of the road over there, and the bushes have grown over to where they completely over covered where that tree was and still hanging farther over the road. And it's terrible. It's horrendous. And I don't, well, there are 3 families that I know of that have travel trailers that live on that road, and they scratch them all to pieces trying to get them out of that road.
Oh, yeah, and that's horrid. I mean, my husband has a dually and he's trying to miss the potholes. Truck gets scratched, my car gets scratched.
Not counting the wear and tear on our tires and the,
$1,000 worth right now.
Well, why did it sit there and nobody came down and mowed?
Well, the reason
we
we
would
moved the
appreciate
machine,
it.
we had to move the machine to do some repairs on it and do, a road, just to be honest, because of school buses. Of course, I know you got a school bus issue also, but that was the reason we moved it back. We had to move it back on Tim King Road. And the reason it sat there that long of a time is back when we was paving roads, and it took all of our crewmen to, work on other roads that we were
Paving
paving
other
at that time.
roads. That's another thing. Didn't y'all have a bunch of grant money?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, we're
What-
using county funds. No,
What-
we do have some A-trip money, some
Yes,
money
sir.
which we've got to match, and we are working on that. We do have some money to do that, but that's not on county roads.
Was Powell Road in your
I think so.
district? When did it
I'm
get
not sure.
paved? Was it recently? Was it in the last year?
Powell Road, that was this past spring.
They got 3 coats, didn't
Mhm. No, 2 coats.
they? They got 2
And we
coats.
put 2 coats on everything.
Okay.
We have not done any with 3
But was that
coats.
grant money?
No, ma'am.
It wasn't?
No.
Okay. I was just curious.
That came out of our budget.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
I'm not-
They're
I'm not
blessed. I know that,
criticizing-
but they were church for like years and years and years too.
I'm not criticizing or judging, I'm asking that y'all
We just
come
need some help.
do something, because we can't do any more than what we are.
The reason I have not done anything in county line is trying to get an agreement with the county to what they could do, what y'all could afford to do, and what we could do together. That's the reason I have not done anything down here.
Well, Mr. Strickle, what has changed with your administration is up to this time, the county has done work in our town and charged us just for material. And since Mr. Strickland took over, he's saying we gotta pay labor too. Is this a new mandate? And also, 14 years ago, you still got people on crew in District, is it 1 that Wayman, are we 1 or 4? I get that mixed up.
Four.
Mr. Biggs?
Oh, yeah, old age. Anyway,
Me too.
14 years ago, when Earl Eskew was commissioner, they paved it. Blount County paved it. Didn't take 1 dime, which I mean, that's before y'all were born, I'm sure. But anyway, you know, all that. But we've had a precedent here that Blount County's helped us and just charge us material and not for the men. And this is just me, so you just help me with this. Your men are paid a salary every month, is that correct?
Yes, I get.
Okay, well, if you put them out on a job and then we pay them, isn't that paying them twice for doing the same job?
No.
It's not?
You're reimbursing the county for us, for their labor is what that is.
Well, is that just started with you, or has that, why up to this point has the county worked with us and helped us? And now, since you've been commissioner, I'm not being mean, why have we gotta be paying labor? Why has that changed?
I cannot answer that question, what has done in the past. It was my understanding that the previous commissioner and the previous council y'all had up here was in a dispute. And so nothing was done for a good long while.
Well, no,
Yeah.
Wyman fixed the roads when I was mayor up
Yeah.
there, and he charged just for material. But now Jefferson County comes and does it just for material,
You know,
and we don't pay them. So, I mean, I'm just saying, is that relevant just to Blount County? Because Jefferson, we don't pay them.
that has not been brought to my attention, so
Okay.
I cannot answer that. I do not know.
We just need some help.
Yeah.
We just need help.
I agree.
Malcolm,
Little history on Car Brazil Road. I believe it, Cecil might help me remember this, in 1968, my brother had a dump truck, and we contracted from Blount County. And most of you don't even know where the red rock pile used to be in Carolina. Down below where we live, at the coal mines now. But you know where the speed limit sign is, Wofford Hill there. Well, Lester Gilland was commissioner. We contracted from Lester hauling. We helped haul the road, red rock out of that red rock pit and put it on Car Brazil from one end all the way to the other end. And I believe Cecil can remember the old truck. Everybody remember that old truck. Go down the road, the hood flopping and window flopping out of it and everything. But that ain't the point. The point is the county has already maintained these roads. And I know before I retired from Jefferson County, that was an issue in Jefferson County. Cause he was my boss, and every time I worked in the city, somebody would call in and say, you know, y'all cutting our grass, you know? And I know that's a problem, and I understand that. But another thing I like to ask, and the commissioner, is Dean Ferry, I know it ties into Lehigh Road. Is that not considered a through road?
A through road,
Uh-huh.
I cannot answer that, I do not know.
Because I know on a through road in Jefferson County, we had to maintain them for a long time.
Cecil?
I don't really know which of you would be more appropriate to address these questions to, but whichever one it is, please answer, because I don't know how the system is structured in Blount County. Number one, we talked about right-of-way for Car Brazil, and obviously there was prescriptive right-of-way, and now there is deeded right-of-way. So that issue should never come up again.
I agree.
Right-of-way is deeded, it's
If that
there.
be the case, I agree.
Now, encouraging you as you look forward, both the city and the county, as to what work you can do on Car Brazil, you need to utilize that space to get the adequate width for the school bus safety and passage of another vehicle, not only in plowing it up, but cutting it back and moving those ditches back or banks back, whichever is appropriate, to make sure that you accomplish the most bang for your buck when the work is done, okay? Second part of that, when talking about public rights of way and proven histories of what you've done through the years, we could argue about it all day long about who did what. But the bottom line is, the law requires an X amount of liability for the county and for the city, based on what their responsibilities are. And, you know, you made the statement that you were trying to get in place an agreement with the city, and I think I heard that same statement made last council meeting, that y'all were trying to get an agreement in place. I guess my question would be, who's gonna pay for the death of a child, or who's gonna pay for the death of my child, more specifically, if he gets killed on one of these roads because, number one, we've not patched the potholes, we've not cut the limbs back, we've not tried to make any advancements as a community government, whether we're talking about Blount County or the town of County Line. The law says, once you've been notified that there's a liability and you fail to react, you are guilty, okay?
Okay.
I've sat in court a long time. Matter of fact, most of the people that I worked for are in prison now. I hadn't go to prison because I didn't treat people the way they did. But I want to encourage you to look at the liabilities and the cost to Blount County and the town of County Line that can be incurred if we don't make some action available to start remedy some of these processes. The judge may be able to tell me where those liabilities start and stop. I don't know in Blount County how y'all handle that.
It's a statewide, every county would be the same.
Okay?
Would
So.
be subject to the same laws.
Okay, so my understanding of the laws that I had to work under for so many years, that again, once you have been notified as a county and as a town of these liabilities, then should there be an accident, someone, which is common, you know, I travel Deans Ferry because I live Deans Ferry. I don't go down Cobbersville very often because I'm afraid of Curtis over there, you know.
Maybe you should be.
But
I'm afraid
often
of
on
Curtis.
Deans Ferry Road, people will try to avoid the potholes and be on the wrong side of the road in a curve, trying to avoid those.
Exactly.
And if somebody gets hit head on, and the town and the county have been notified of these situations, and no corrective actions have been taken, Judge, where's the liability?
Well, but it's, we certainly do share a liability in that, there's no
Okay.
question about it.
Then might I recommend that we move forward and stop talking, and I'm not being ugly, stop talking politics, talking agreements, and put our hand to the plow and put something in action, you know.
Mayor, could I raise a question, just from my
Sure.
knowledge also? I think to be sure I know the answer, but just to be sure, I know it's not gonna amount to much money because of the small population, but you are receiving a pro rata share of gas tax funds from the state.
Yes, how
Okay,
much,
all right. I'm sure it don't amount to much, but I just wanna make sure that is coming to you.
Yes, I have a listing of every month from January through September. And the total amount is $3,522.04.
From January to September.
From January to September, that is
Okay.
the total. Now,
Yeah,
we
that's-
also get a small for Jefferson because it's split, Blunt and
Right,
Jefferson. But I went through and I have a copy of every
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
And so that's what it totals. The total, including Jefferson County, is $3,547, so it's not much difference.
Yeah.
Blunt County's got the majority of it.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
Well-
Gary, when I first met Commissioner Strickland, he asked me if I could tell him what we had received from Blunt County. And we be willing to turn that money over to Blunt County? If we could get something done on our roads, you can have this $3,500. You can have it with my blessing.
Okay.
I think it's, for me, one of the saddest parts about this whole thing is, yes, there's a huge liability there and a concern for the safety of everyone in our community and whoever passes through. But I also think that it's a sad state of affairs when it is smoother to drive off the shoulder of the road than it is to drive on pavement.
I agree.
And that road, both those roads are that way.
I went off the side of the road when I was going down that way further.
And
I
that-
agree.
I mean, you know, my little truck, bless his heart, I'm scared to death to drive down the road more than 5-10 miles an hour and then people come up behind me and blow the horn because I'm holding them up. Of course, I don't care. I want to take care of my truck. I don't want to have to replace another front end.
Yes.
He probably needs a new driver.
Look, just because there's a loose nut behind the wheel don't mean anything.
But and that comes back down to, we wanna do something. But it takes money. And we don't have much income, and we've got very little funds to work with. So that's our dilemma. And we, I know I've already spoken with the county engineer and of course been talking with Commissioner Strickland for months and months and months now. Just trying to find out if, we can get in on some of these block grants that the county gets from time to time for road work. What was Highland Lakes, got some road work, or not Highland Lakes, but Sugarland Lake, got some paving done from some kind of block grant. Yes, sir.
Mayor, could I ask another question, please? And you don't know how refreshing it is for me to see someone sitting up there in the hot seat telling the folks that it's all about the money, because I had to do that this morning, as a matter of fact, so I feel for you. But listen, what other roads of concern, if we got, I know that, of course, Deans Ferry and Cobbersville, are there other roads that maybe just not quite that bad, it would be a concern? And I'm asking that because if we did explore something that, could help us all in regard to that, What other roads would need to be taken into consideration?
I would certainly say, Smith Mill.
Smith Mill?
Smith Mill
Thermal
Road.
Road. Thermal.
And
Thermal,
Thermal.
okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, Thermal
It's as bad as they
is,
carry it.
not much of Thermal is in the town limits. We only have 150 yards or so, 100 to 150 yards. Down Thermal Road is actually in the town limits.
Is the rest of it in Blunt or Jefferson?
Well, part of it in Blunt,
Jefferson.
part of it's in Jefferson. So, I mean,
But our
Who
biggest
comes
problem
first,
is that
Martha
one over there at Smith Mill where that
Who comes first,
culvert
Martha?
is, where that.
yeah,
pipe
yeah, we've got
Talk about
a culvert that's sticking up in the air.
It doesn't drain very well.
What's bad that last flood? your way.
It's a high water, you get that? You get it
Yeah,
to
that's
drain.
what I'm saying.
So, I mean, it's, I don't know why it's sticking up in the air like that. Something's washing out. And, of course, that's a concern that that road's gonna give way. So, everywhere we look, we've got concerns and we need road work. And, as far as our gas tax money, we have not discussed it as a council, but I don't think there would be too many drawbacks on, we'd gladly give you our tax money,
No, we'd be
take care of
glad
our
to.
roads. I mean,
I'll be glad to.
anyway,
Another concern that I have on, Deans Ferry and Coppersville is, like, we were talking about the brush on the side of the road. The trailer park at the end of the road, if you noticed when you came in, the grass is really
5
high.
foot high.
And on the other side of the road, there was a tree that fell and they just cut it up and left it laying there. And when we pull out from Cobb Brazil onto Deans Ferry, you can hardly see if there's a car coming. And I don't know if, you know, that, I don't know what we can do about that.
this is a,
There is right of way on those roads, whether it's prescriptive or deeded, and you can go to the back of that right of way and have that cleaned up, no matter what the property owner's desires are. That right of way don't belong to the property owner, it belongs to the municipality
How
or
far
the county.
is that right of way?
Well, if it's prescriptive right of way, it's back to ditch, toe, or field. If it's deeded right of way, then it's whatever the measurement is, the actual measurement.
Prescriptive though, is to make it safe for the public.
Prescriptive can be varying widths because of what the area that it passes through. If it's cut through a hill or off an embankment, then it's a different width because of what it takes to get the road width in there and maintain it. That includes maintaining the drainage structures and things of that nature that are required to maintain the road bed. That long arm bush hog that Misty talked about could have taken care of a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were hoping. We were ready. We kept waiting.
We sort of.
No,
Been
no,
tempted
no.
to go with
That's
ourselves and
happened,
use.
I would
Not a
pass
thing.
by that thing and think, you
Yeah.
know, if they would give me the key, I would do it myself.
Mr. Pitts did it last year. Mr.
It needs to
Pitts
be
actually came
done
out and took
carefully,
a tree down. I mean, he, it was a tree in the road. He came out in the rain and cut it up.
all right.
What are we gonna do?
Cereal so we can get to
Well,
work in the morning,
Governor,
5:30, 5 o'clock.
If Commissioner Strickland will give us a, an estimate on the Coppersville Road, grading it and at least putting gravel down.
Can I clarify one thing? You said that the patchwork would have to be done on Deans Ferry before you come in and put your paving down, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we still have to pay for patchwork, right?
So that estimate didn't include potholing?
No, ma'am. That's
Question.
stipulated in the contract.
Question on the potholing is, you gonna use hot mix or cold mix? Cause that cold mix is gonna roll out.
We use co-mix for potholes.
You automatically got trouble there anyway.
I just said it was an estimate.
Well, is cold mix higher than hot mix? Cause I called Dunn as of this morning, you can buy cold mix, hot mix, whole lot cheaper than you can buy cold mix.
Yeah, it's cheaper, costs a little bit more to put it down. That's the only difference.
I have put down 10 tons, me and 2 more guys in one day in 8 hours. Hot mix, I mean, y'all got the prisoners on the patch truck, let them on that hamburger they get every day. You know,
We do use
because
the
what
prisoners
happens
when
at
we
cold
can.
mix, as soon as they put it down, got no kind of hand tamp on the truck. You throw it down in them holes, and when the car runs over it,
Did you hold out?
it valleys out. That cold mix valleys out.
I wanna ask a question. What do we gotta do to get something done about these two places we know bad and these other places we know to get done?
Thank you, Floyd.
Now, I mean, that's where it boils down to, it all boils down to, what do we gotta do? And that's what we gotta do.
I feel like, you know, as far as the county, we can do our work on the part that's the county, ASAP. And, as far as-
ASAP?
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow or the next?
I can do some of it next week.
All right,
Matter of
that's
fact,
what-
I had already planned to do, and I was gonna tell the mayor we would do our part in the county, you know, next week. You know, if weather permitted and everything.
It's good to know.
Because, I knew this has been an issue for a long time. And, but I was waiting till after this meeting to,
I wanna
you know,
ask-
see what kind of agreement
I
or
want
what.
to ask him a question. I want to ask you a question first, okay?
Okay.
Now, what do we got to do to turn this over to you and let you take a hold of it for us?
All of it?
Yeah,
I'll have to get back with you on that. I cannot answer that question tonight.
Can you, Judge Green?
why,
Well, I think the reason he's gonna come back with a estimate on the two codes to do that, to get
What-
that price.
Well, now, I understood his question, what would it take for
Oh, for
us
us
to
to
take over the roads?
Okay.
you
yeah,
know.
that's what I want to know.
Yeah, and
We
then not
turn loose
have
of this money
any,
tonight and let you have it. As far as I'm concerned.
If I can write you a check.
I mean, it ain't that much.
we'd have to come up to an agreement on that. You know, I couldn't.
Well, you know,
Respond
last
on that
time
tonight.
you were here, Mr. Strickland, you said that you were gonna check into if Blount County had paved the roads before, that they would pave them again. And just about everybody in here can tell you that Blount County has always taken care of those roads. County Line has never had money to pave roads.
But County Line then took their money and held it themselves. County Line.
So, did you find out anything about that?
The people that I talked with was the people that had been in my road crew for a number of years, and other people, and I could not find in the last 8 years that they had done anything. And I think it was because.
That we know.
That's why the roads are
I
in
tell you, they
there.
didn't put the group
That's
in
because,
here.
that's because the people that was in here for the last 8 years
I agree.
was holding on to everything. Now, what if we take all this money and give it to you tonight?
Oh, that $3,000, that's a lot of money, $3,500.
No, what's the other account there?
That's all we get.
You got another account there.
We've got we have a road account that has got some money in it, but it just depends on what we have to do. I asked him before if we could do $1 down, $1 a week.
No, I don't wanna know a dollar a week, I wanna know what does it take now.
I understand, and we'll have to get,
Yeah, I
You'll
cannot
have to
answer,
let us know.
I'm not prepared to answer that question tonight.
he can't tell us tonight exactly
Well,
what it would
how
take.
soon can he tell us?
As soon as
How
he
soon
checks.
can you tell us?
Give me a week and I'll try to have you an answer.
Okay, next Thursday night, we'll see you then, right here. And you can come too, okay, please, sir, if you
Well,
will.
do y'all have any cake that goes with that
We'll
coffee?
Hey, we'll have some extra cookies, because we have a baker here.
We
that
usually have several kinds of homemade
Yeah, we'll have
We'll
fried
have.
chicken potatoes out if you'll fix the
We have
road.
another question.
Do you guys not have any records at all when you work the roads? When you paved the road? Because they tarred and grappled Cobbers Hill. Mr. Esky, when he was commissioner, they paved Dean's Ferry. I don't know when he was a commissioner. Do you guys remember what year that was?
1998, 99.
Thank you, Malcolm. Do you guys not have any records of that? And when I talked to you before, you said that the reason that some laws had changed, that you had been in the probate judge's office and talked with him about this, and the laws had changed, and that there was nothing you guys could do to help us with County Line's part. What is the difference in the law now than it was when they were working the road?
I think what would be referenced there that I have researched is what the law requires if a town annexed property after 1995, then that is the responsibility of the town. If the property was annexed prior to 1995, it was per mutual agreement between the city or the town prior to that time. So the county could maintain, or they might have agreement. So I have no idea what the history of that is.
Where are the
Have you, I would imagine that all of county line has been annexed since when?
Since 1959.
Okay, is that?
1957.
57.
Was originally.
So if it
The
was
year she was
annexed
born.
before 1995, the county would be responsible? Is that what
I
you're
think the law, what actually it reads, it would be based on whatever the mutual agreement was prior to that. That the town may have been in charge of that road, or the county may have. After 1995, it takes the county out of the equation and is the responsibility of the town.
Well, since the town was annexed before 1995, then wouldn't that make y'all responsible?
Well, again, that's by whatever the mutual agreement was prior to that time.
And then we couldn't control the center council that we had. They were just doing whatever they wanted to do. And Mr.
Yeah.
Pitts tried and tried and tried. He tried 3 or 4
He did.
times with that document. He was fantastic, just fantastic. And he tried over and over and he couldn't get them to cooperate with him.
Yeah.
And that's, we're the ones that paid for it. It's not our fault.
Mhm.
We didn't.
Well, I'd like to say this, obviously, Mayor, you've got a great group of folks to work with now, and you got some knowledgeable people. Seem like everybody is willing to work. I would take the commissioner up on this, giving him a week to come back with some ideas and different prices. I don't think it concerns me. We are getting late in the year to do any paving this time, because that Cobbersville, there's got to be some right-of-way clearing and base and grade and like that. But if you're gonna just leave it a gravel road for the winter, that might, you might can go ahead and get to an agreement on that and get it cut back at
They
least.
give it some compaction.
Yeah.
And really, at this point, I don't think we should give up the tar and gravel. I mean, do you guys really think we ought to give it up? Or let it lay and?
Well, I don't wanna give it up, but we
It's
are,
gotta stay lay
we-
anyway, I
yeah, it's
understand
gotta
that, but
lay
we
for
don't
a
wanna
while.
just throw it out
Yeah.
the window.
but
No.
what I'm
If
saying,
we're gonna
we're
try
at the
to
end of the
turn it over to
year,
Buck County.
coming up next year, you don't never know, the government may turn loose some money, we may get our hands on some money.
Well, I understand it's gotta
Yeah.
sit, but I'm just saying, down there, right, Brenda, we don't wanna just give the tar and gravel up, right?
I'm trying not to say too much.
Go ahead.
We really need the road
Why
widened.
don't you consider this, letting the commissioner come back with a price on the, getting the Cobbersville cut back and the basin drain, and, just a good potholing of Dean's Ferry is gonna help everybody a lot, and that
Yeah.
price is not included, so we
Correct.
come back with just a price on letting the county do their part and see what it costs just to get the potholing done, and that improvement to Cobbersville, I think would put you in a lot better situation than you are right now.
Well, Coppersville, in my opinion, is the highest priority.
Right.
If we're gonna do anything, I prefer to do it there. But I was looking at what we had the money to do, what work we could do with what money we have.
That was my question for the commissioner. Can you, when you do all of this and come back next week, can you give us an idea of how much money that we need to give you to do whatever we can do, so that we have an idea of the money that we have and that we can disperse, some of that. We don't have enough to do it all according to these proposals. But if you would tell us how much it would take to get it started to where we're, at least looks like we're doing something, then that's what we would like to know.
I'll try to do that. Now, the only part that I can finance out of my budget has to be paid back during my term, which will be the next 3 years.
Which is the
So-
same as ours.
Yeah, that's all that I can finance for you out of my budget.
Okay.
And also, that price that you've got did not include widening the road. When I first looked at the road, it was just to take up and, you know, put back what is already there.
Yeah.
Now, if there's any additional widening that has to be done, that'll have to be taken into consideration.
That's Cobb Brazil.
Brazil.
Okay.
And also, I mentioned I had it in my budget for this next year. Now, my year starts in October. I didn't mean for this year. I mean, so
Right.
it would be sometime next year, you know, that we'd be doing that.
Right. And that's one of the things that we had, have discussed in that time period to pay it back.
Mhm.
Basically, we're gonna have 2 years, or 2 payments to make, based on what we're projecting to receive. So, that certainly limits us, but we can start working to do something.
Mhm.
I gotta ask a question.
Well,
This town right up here,
Locust Fork.
huh?
Locust Fork?
Locust Fork, any town around here, if they got to have roads done, do you do the work and they pay you back?
I have the same agreement that you've got printed out there. I have that with the town of Locust Fork and the town of Cleveland.
Okay.
They reimburse me for all work and services that I render in their town limits.
Every town around here,
Yes, sir. With the exception of Rosa, it does not.
why does roads?
We take, they have very few roads and we just take their tax money.
They just take the
Yeah.
money here.
Yeah, they have.
Well, what
very
if you
few
take
roads.
our money? Then we don't do
I
nothing.
have to measure that up against my budget, see if I can afford that.
Also to give it somebody to
Is,
travel.
here's my question, just for my own clarification, because the case is a little slow. Shut up, Cecil.
I hear you. I hear you.
Is it a viable option then to pothole, Dean's Ferry to make it at least safe for the time being? And then do the work on Cobb Brazil to make it safe? And do both of those or are we looking at still trying to repave all of Dean's Ferry and do that as well now?
I think I can partially answer that. We have 2 estimates on Dean's Ferry today. One of them is a complete reclamation, and just for our portion of that is $33,000.
Yeah.
For the tar and gravel, our estimates for that same road, for a single coat, is currently $9,400.
$9,400.
So he's waiting, you know, and I agree with him, we should do it, whatever we're gonna do, Dean's Ferry, the county and the town need to do it together, so that, you know, when it's done, whatever we do, is done from one end to the other. Potholing, but we don't have a contract or an estimate on
Yeah.
potholing yet.
On the potholing, just the potholing at Dean's Ferry would be considerably cheaper than the 9,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope so.
yeah, I mean, but,
I just wanted to bring that up, make that point.
Steve Siegel had something else?
I did want to ask a couple more questions. Number one, you talked about you had in place some agreements with the other towns in this area, and I understand that you're Commissioner of District 4.
Correct.
And just so you know, I think you're doing a good job so far. Okay?
Appreciate that.
But I know that your hands are tied about a lot of things. Maybe the judge would be better appropriate to answer this. Is this a standard operating procedure for Blount County commissioners as a whole? Do they all have these agreements, or do they independently have these policies they set in place? Are we being treated the same across the board as
Yes, sir.
As
I
county
think
citizens?
I can agree with that, because I know that I recently signed such an agreement for the town of Hayden. And they're just applying those FEMA rates to the equipment and all. So I feel very confident I can answer that, yes, because that would be very important that we treat everybody the same.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
The second question I would have would be, in line of talking about the 1995 law that you brought up, talking about prior agreements that may have been in place. You know, some of us who are lifelong residents here know that the county, and could sign sworn affidavits to this fact, that the county has maintained both Deans Ferry and Cobbersville Road. All right, 70s, and I'm gonna speak for myself, I'll let the other folks speak for themselves. 70s, 80s, up into the 90s, and maybe a little bit into the 2000s, I can guarantee it,
Absolutely.
that the county has always maintained those roads. And I'm not sure at what point these agreements changed between the county and city,
Right.
because it appears that the previous administrations, they may have made some changes, but the work that you're talking about has been going on for far more than the 20 years that is required by law to make it your responsibility or the government's responsibility. Can you address that, either of you?
I would agree with what you said. I don't know if there was any agreements prior to that. I just don't know if there were any formal agreements prior to that time.
Apparently in our records keeping processes, you know, we have some large holes and gaps, okay? So if we were to find ourselves having to answer for those liabilities, that would not bode well for us.
Right.
For everybody.
Right, that's correct.
I guess my question is can the county not step forward and begin some of this work as we begin to work the agreements out and get this well underway? Obviously, winter's coming and it's going to get much worse than it is now as far as the road work. And try to get something done before the rainy weather and the cold weather sets in and the freeze and thaw continues to tear up what little bit there is left.
And I can say that the first time that road was paved, Blount County did it. I lived on the corner there where the trailer park is. I'm telling how old I am now. But it was paved in the, like 1963, 64 for the first time. And Blount County absolutely did it. So,
Buddy, on all this we're talking about, Steve brought up about putting gravel on Cobbersville. And I know from past experience clearing right of ways, I've done it for 20-something years. Winter's coming in, okay? And you got banks down there, fences to move, all that, and that's gonna take time, trees to cut. Why couldn't they, you put the gravel down, and the commissioner, the guy that figured in his budget to do something with it, his part anyway, let the city go ahead and put the gravel down where these folks could get in and out. Gravel will help 100%, but it'd be better to get it fixed right while they doing it. But put the gravel down for the winter, then and let him come back, because right now, if he started clearing for right-of-ways right now, y'all won't be able to get in and out this winter in January, because I know how long it takes. I've done it, been there, done that. And the gravel be, you know, would help everybody, then let them come in and do what they need to do. I mean, that's just a suggestion. I mean, both the roads have got problems and we need to get something done. Lord loan us the money.
It's pulling apart for me.
Yeah.
maybe
Well, I think right now, what we need to do is wait for the commissioner to work up the additional estimates that we request before we take any further action. But yes, getting something done on Deans Ferry is important, but Coppersville, like I said, I think is by far the most important road that we need to work on. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'll quit asking questions because I hadn't eaten supper yet. Y'all may not have either, but one thing I'm thinking about that we would need to know, and that I assume there is a public water line that's going
Yes.
down Cobbersville.
Yes.
Yes.
6-inch PVC.
And is it right on the edge of the road, or is it set off the road
It's
good?
down center of the road in two or three different places.
Okay,
Ain't that right,
have to-
Van?
Yeah. We'll
It's
have to
set
keep
dead
that
center
in
of the
mind.
road.
That's
In 2 or
right.
3 different, on my spot, it's about that far from the road.
In 2 places, it's in the center of the road. And that shouldn't be no problem, because we used to pave over water lines and bust them anyway.
Busting it, and then you gotta go refix the road.
One
Yes,
other
sir.
quick comment, Mayor, I would be very happy to, for us to work together. I know that with Dean's Ferry and Cobbersville, you got to move forward in addressing that, but you know, there might be some opportunities, and, someone mentioned the town of Highland Lake a while ago, I heard that
Highland
mentioned.
Lake, where
But
Sugar
you
Land
know,
Lakes.
we do have an opportunity every year to apply through the Alabama Department of Economic and Community Affairs for community development block grants, one of them being a community enhancement grant. That's probably what they got at Highland Lake. And as we look ahead to was it Smith
Mill.
Mill and
And thermal.
and thermal, you know, we might could work up a great application on that, and you can, sometimes it only requires as little as a 10% match.
Right.
And, you know, that's something I'd be happy to work together with you on, but that's not gonna cure the immediate need here because of the process is too long, but,
Right. But I would certainly like to talk to you about
yeah,
about
we'll do
that.
that.
Because that would address all of the roads and help us out tremendously.
Yeah.
But I mean, we just have to, we don't know where to turn right now, and turn to the only people that we know. All right, so, yes, ma'am?
I would just like to address the people that live on Coppersville and Dean's Ferry. I know y'all think that we sit here and not doing anything, but we have been working on trying to get your roads fixed ever since we've been in office. And so we've pinched every penny we can everywhere, but we are trying to get your roads fixed. And I just want y'all to know that we're not sitting here just not twiddling our thumbs.
Good.
Let me say this in their behalf, they have worked diligently trying to take care of this matter. We've been talking for a long time, and we're searching every avenue that we can to get some work done for y'all.
We thank y'all.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to take the opportunity again to thank Commissioner Strickland for coming down, and probate judge for coming to our meeting tonight.
It's
I do
been a
appreciate
pleasure.
that.
It's very nice to meet everyone, and I think y'all gonna get some things done.
Yeah.
We're gonna try.
Good group of folks, very obvious.
If somebody just tell us what we need to do and guide us in the right direction, hey, we're willing to work. That's all, that's what we're asking for.
Very different council.
You're gonna have, you said next week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we gonna have another meeting next week? What are we doing?
We're gonna have
Are you
one
just gonna have
next Monday, next
Well,
Wednesday.
Commissioner Strickland to come? And I know Floyd said next Thursday we'll see you, but I wanna make sure of what we're doing, so I can let everybody know.
Let's give him some time to work
He
it out
needs
here.
yeah, you need to
And,
let us know
Okay,
what you.
I get to
you
work
got-
up my
You
call.
can call me,
Okay.
let me know.
I'll do that.
Okay.
And we can call a special meeting just about any day.
Yeah.
I'd like to give at least 48 to 72 hours notice that we're calling a special meeting so we can get the word out. We haven't, well, I think we've accomplished a lot, got a lot of questions answered, and a lot of opinions we've heard from our citizens. So,
We appreciate all
Every
of our
bit of it,
citizens
yes.
coming out.
absolutely. And I encourage you to come the second Monday of every month is our regular meeting. You're always welcome. Yes, ma'am?
Mr. Mayor, after this week, we will have our sign out front here, starting tomorrow. It's gonna be installed.
Oh,
And there will be a little sign that hangs, a little little piece of metal that's gonna hang on the lower part of that sign that we will put out on the day of the meeting that morning to let, or the day before. And it will say town meeting, 7 p.m. tonight, something to that effect. And that will help, for the people that drive by here. If we put it out early that morning, then as you're coming in the evening, you'll know it's a town meeting that night.
Incidentally, that was from a grant from Alabama Power Company.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've got, we're installing 2 town signs.
A gateway grant.
So,
But we can only use the grant for the signs.
yeah. I mean, it's a, grants are great if we know about them, if we apply for them. All right. Any other questions?
I make a motion that we adjourn our meeting for tonight.
All in favor?
Who seconded?
She did.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Man, I need your help.
Talk to you.